All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Barchart Commodity View webinar. My name is Tyler Bottoms, Client Service Director, as well as we have Product Manager Patrick Fitzgerald with us. The focus of this webinar is to show the newest features and updates to industry-leading real-time and trading platform Commodity View. During this presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them into the chat window within the webinar toolbar, and we'll either address them during or at the end of the presentation. As always, once this session is over, feel free to reach out to your Barchart account manager to learn more on your existing Commodity View platform or sign up for a trial today. So first off, we're going to do a quick overview of what is Commodity View. Commodity View is our award-winning real-time and trading platform, offering access to cash and futures pricing, global data, trading, cash bid management, and advanced analytics and indexes, all built into a single system that is available via computer, tablet, or mobile through our Commodity View app. This data is also available within Commodity Excel, which will allow you to pull data into Excel for custom models and equations. Commodity View also ties into the Barchart Marketplace app, which we'll cover a little further here in a minute. Commodity View gives users access to a vast amount of data, including cash bids for over 4,000 North American locations, international grain pricing, energy pricing, and even metals, including scrap pricing. Our geospatial data includes weather data, soil moisture, and more. Bringing all these data sets together allows Barchart to develop out our proprietary data sets, including cash price and basis indexes, cash and basis forecast, as well as our yield and production forecast, giving you every piece of information that you would need through a single product, anywhere, anytime. As mentioned, our workflows tie together with the Barchart producer app Marketplace, allowing companies and their producers to interact through our products, including Match, Cash Bid and Offer Management System, Route, our producer ERP accounting data, so tickets, contracts, and more, Chat, one-to-one chat with your producers or other people within the Commodity View network, and Sign, the ability to e-sign documents such as grain contracts. Knowing that companies have their own systems or work with third parties, we have also built these workflows out into our Connect APIs. Allows Barchart to fully host all your solutions, or you can customize and utilize the tools you need. So with that quick overview of Commodity View, I'll pass the ball over to Patrick here to dive into some of the new features within Commodity View. Again, if there's any questions, drop them into the chat window and we'll address them as soon as we can.
Thanks so much, Tyler. I appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody coming out. It's cool to see so many people come out to learn more about all the updates that we've done in Commodity View. So we'll get started right away. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera off like Tyler just to save some bandwidth. So the first thing that we have is, the first thing that we've added, kind of starting on a bigger view, is being able to use a social sign-in when you're signing into Commodity View. This is just, one less password to use, and makes things easier when you're signing into Commodity View. We think we've covered pretty much everything. One little caveat here is that if you are using, it has to match your Commodity View username email address. So if you're using Amazon and it's your personal Amazon account that's not tied to your Commodity View username, it won't work. And then also, there's a few people probably know in here, but if you go to sign in and it doesn't work, maybe one of our salespeople put a 1 at the end of our email address because you've had a couple of usernames, you could just email our support department and they can get that taken care of for you. So to find that, you just click on the social sign-in right here, and you can use any you want. And it's just a much easier, quicker way to get in. And then once you're in, I want to point out kind of the biggest change in Commodity View overall is the settings menu up top. I'm not sure how many of you remember before, but we had a lot of kind of our settings were down here, and we just felt like users didn't get a whole lot out of it. We were getting too many questions and people weren't able to find stuff. So we ripped the lower panel out, put our chat kind of dock right there, and then moved a lot of those things that used to be hidden down here up into the upper right. Like first there is our settings tab, and this is the same as it was, or all the settings are the same as they were before, but we made the layout a lot easier to use. As you can see, you can kind of go by group, but everything's still there. If you want to change your theme and you want to go to a light mode or a dark mode, you want to change your profile, this is where you'll log into live trading as well. But it's just, we think it's a lot better laid out. We're hoping people are able to find things more easily and you know, use a lot of the settings are available that they couldn't find before. And after that, we did the same thing with our alerts dialog. We just cleaned this up a lot, made it a lot easier to see what alerts you have active, what alerts you've done in the past, so you can kind of easily reset them and use them again, because you know, a lot of people use the same alerts over and over again, and made the layout of the alert page a lot easier to use and follow. Next after that is the quick little user dialogues. And then after that is our gallery page, which that was down below too. We changed the icon here. This we've had before, but you know, as long as I have a few people here, I always like to point out the gallery page. It's always great, especially if you're going to try to kind of dive into a new data set that you're not as familiar with. It's always good to look in the gallery page and see if we maybe have one already built. I used to get this comment in support all the time. People would come to me and they'd say, you know, what are the symbols that you guys use for your CFTC commitment of traders data? And you know, you can find the symbols relatively easily, but a much easier way to do it is to use one of our commitment of traders pre-built pages here. Even if you want to make changes, it's just a great place to start. You just click on the one you want, click save, and it'll pop the workspace right in. And that way you can see, you know, maybe you don't want KC wheat, or maybe, you know, you don't want the chart to look exactly like that. But it's just a great place to get the symbols and a great place to get started. So I always like to give a shout out to our gallery page because it's very helpful. And then after that, we have our kind of notifications tab, where you can see, you know, upcoming podcasts and webinars, and anytime we get new data sets, things like that, we'll put those in here as well. And then we also moved the help. We wanted to make this a little bit easier to find as well. Like our contact support used to be kind of tucked away in this bottom right corner, but now we have it right in the top. So if you need to contact support, it's right there in the middle. You just contact support and make sure attach logs is done, and that will create a ticket in our system, so it gets a lot more visibility. So that's a lot of the main page that we have. Let's see what we have next. Updated charting. We made a lot of updates to our charts in this recent update. All of them were user requests. We think there's a lot of added, you know, usability. It's easier to see data, especially with compare charts. So I'll point a few of those out now. As you can see right away, one of the first things that we did that I like to point out is we have this static sort of legend at the top. So this will always show you today's data. You know, kind of as you go through in the past, you'll see the data that you have the cursor over here, but this will always stay static. This is one of those things we like for usability. You know, we have a lot of people who use commodity view, they'll come on, check, but maybe they're doing 10 other things throughout the day. And so we need, even when you have your mouse off the screen, you're looking at maybe a different monitor, or you've got a few different tabs open, you can always kind of quickly see today's change and, you know, what the last price is, things like that. We also made a lot of updates to the compare charts, as I was saying, so you can see in our tooltip here, this will be color coded, and we also have this along the top as well. These are now clickable items, and so you can click these, change any color. So if you want to make that, I don't know, pink, you turn that pink and you can see it'll change the legend. It makes it a lot easier, especially if you're comparing like 6 or 7 different products. It just makes things a little cleaner to look at. We also updated all of our tooltips, same thing to make them more readable. This one now gives you open, high, low, close. The color matches, and you can also now kind of move this wherever you'd like. We also did the same thing with our headers tooltip. Some people kind of prefer this. It does the same thing. It'll show you your, that symbol, the entire high, open, low, close, and it'll also be color coded as well. So if you have a bunch of different symbols on here. And then we also did the same thing for our bubble tooltip. Made it more, user-friendly. I don't particularly like this one. I find it kind of obtrusive, but some people like it, and we made it a lot easier to use. And after that, we made a lot of these similar changes to our seasonal charts, which are one of our most popular products. This actually wasn't part of the newest release, but this is something we've done in the last like month or two, and we're really proud of it, just because this is a tool that people use a lot. You could see right away we did the same thing here where we have the clickable legend on top. So you're able to click here quickly, change colors of any years you want. You can hide lines. You can change the width of any here. And then the other thing that we did that a lot of people wanted, which came about earlier this year, kind of in the spring. Previously, this tool only went back 10 years, I believe, even though we had data going back a lot farther than that. Some people wanted to compare this year to 2008, but we only went back to 2011. So we made it now goes back 30 years. Which is, I think, a big addition since we have all the data going back. So you can see it goes all the way back to 1991. And so what you could do is kind of quickly, you can add 2008, 2010, and then you click here and you can kind of change, like let's say 2008 and 2010 are kind of your big years. You can make those lines thicker along with, let's say, 2001. And so you can kind of clearly see, 2021, you got your 08, and then you got your 2010. It just makes this a lot easier to use. And then one thing I did want to add, we moved the FX button a little bit closer, so now it's not so hidden. We get this question every once in a while, is that, can I look at historical spreads? And while we don't have historical spread data, you can actually use a function in this box as well. So let's say I wanted to look at like March corn going back quite a few years. You could just, as long as you have the symbols in braces, you can use, do whatever mathematics you want to these formulas. But if you want to look at a past March spread, ZCH22. I answered that wrong. What did I do wrong? Yeah, bad symbol. User error. And there you can see we have all the March spreads in the past. You can see 09, 08, 09, 10, 11, March, etc. Which I think a lot of people, like being able to look at spread markets in the past. So let's see what's next. The international crop production forecasts for Canada, Argentina, and Brazil. If you're looking for this data, you can find this in our symbol browser. So if you just, on any different screen that you're on, you'll just click on the magnifying glass, and this can actually be found in indexes. And these are under commodity or crop production forecast indexes. And you can see we have these broken out. These will all be under global. And so you can see, Argentina, national production forecast, and you can see, and that's where you'll get the symbols from. And you can add those into a quote board or a chart and, look at those however you'd like. I'll use that time to kind of discuss one of the cool tools that we've added in the last 2 or 3 months, and I think it's just added a lot to our symbol browser here. Is previously we had The symbols were just kind of dumped in. I'm not even sure how it was done, but any changes we had to make had to be done on the back end. And two of our developers built us a really cool back end tool, myself and my fellow product manager, Brendan, and he's actually the one that's done 99.9% of the work on this, is it gives him a tool to make any changes to any of these leaves that he'd like. For example, when we first got this data, this crop production forecast, it probably was all just a list of symbols. And he went in and broke it all up. So now you can clearly see by state or by county, and it's a lot easier to find exactly what you're looking for. I can't even remember, I mean, there's been dozens and dozens of changes that he's done to make our symbol browser a lot more readable and usable. I'll jump out a couple of the examples that jumped out at me. It used to be when you open this futures tab, it was just all by exchanges. But now we have by category and exchange. So we still have the same way. So you can go by exchange, and if you're looking for CBOT or NYMEX, you can still find them there. But we now group them by category as well, which depending on what you're looking for might be a lot easier. For example, you can go to category ag, and then grains and corn, and then it still has all the exchanges, but this will only show the corn contract for that exchange. So if you're looking for Dalian corn, it's a lot easier to find. You still have your CBOT corn, your Minneapolis Grain Exchange, the corn index, things like that. It just makes it a lot easier to find exactly what you're looking for. Another example of that, which I think is really helpful, is in our fundamental data. In our commodity stats, he actually went through before, these were just the initials. So all you would see is like the CFTC or the USDA, which for the CFTC and the USDA is fine. But if you're looking for something like the central market of Buenos Aires, you just would have seen MCDBA, which, you know, doesn't exactly jump out to people, you know, exactly what that is. And then even when you would drill down in the data, it wouldn't show. You would actually have to go through and completely pull the symbol to see. But so now you know exactly what you're looking at as you go through. And I mean, if he was here, he could probably point out another, like I said, a few dozen things. Those are two that jump out at me that I think are really helpful. And the nice thing is, like I said, it's a back-end tool that we have available all the time. And so if you're kind of just using Commodity View and going through the symbol browser and you see something jump out at you and you're like, well, that's not right, that's a completely wrong symbol, you can just email and let us know, and we can have it fixed that same day rather than kind of write up a whole development ticket. You know, I think it's a big help. All right, and then what's next? Oh, the exchange traded spreads panel. This is one that's definitely near and dear to my heart. I was a trader in a previous life and pretty much only traded exchange traded spreads. And so when I originally saw what we had with Commodity View, it was fine. But the issue that jumped out at me right away was there wasn't a lot of customizations available. And so we ripped this panel out completely and rebuilt it from scratch as well. And one of the first things that jumped out at me was like, I want to make this more so you could just kind of drill down exactly what you're looking for rather than just have this big list of all these exchange traded spreads. So for a good example, this allows you up here in these columns to kind of select and unselect things. And so there's a lot of people out there that use calendar spreads quite a bit, but they may not look at condors all the time. So you can uncheck condor, you can uncheck butterfly, and then you can uncheck expirations as well. If you don't need to see out to July 24 or 23, it just allows you to just really drill down exactly what you're looking for. And then we also made this outbound linkable. And so if you're familiar with Commodity View, you'll know that one of our cool features is that it allows you to link charts and quote boards as long as you have these set. So, if I open a chart here, as long as these are both matching, you'll see that I can then use this and kind of change this around. And so then, I can have one page or one workspace just for spreads, have that linked to where if I just want to flip around on just my corn spreads, I'll be able to do that, which is pretty cool. And then another thing that we added to this quote board is we added the ability to kind of highlight. As you can see, I have, you know, green for things that are high, lower, and then red for things that are higher on the day. And you can change this in your in the quote board settings. And this is another thing that I want to talk about a little more, is that we have added, you know, a lot of display here. We had all these features before with like background color, row text color, change columns as grid lines. But the thing is, it just didn't really show very well. And if you wanted to build a quote board, you kind of had to guess and check. You didn't know, so we added these diagrams to make it a little bit easier to see kind of what you're looking for. And I made a workspace exactly to kind of show that off. And you can see the different options we had. Like I said, these were already available, but we just kind of exposed these more in the settings, having the little diagrams and stuff. I think it's kind of helpful. And we hope people use these features a little bit more now. As you can see, you can do, you know, an entire row like this. You could do just the text color. You could do just the symbol. And then you can also have it highlight on every change. As you can see, you know, I picked some markets that are open so you can see how it looks. And depending on how often you need to be notified of, you know, the markets that you're moving, you can set these quote boards up any way you like, which I think is a pretty cool feature. Oh, another thing that we added to quote boards is this. Again, this was a customer request. We added contract high and contract low fields. And so you can see those over here. And, you know, a lot of people like this to kind of see where we are today versus, you know, the entire contract life. And then another thing we did with our quote boards, which it was just sort of a way we had things set up. I wouldn't necessarily call it a bug, but some people felt like it was sort of a bug, where what would happen is at 4:45, when we would get bid and offer data from the CBOT, we would then clear out all the previous day's data. But the issue was that that would clear out change and percentage change. And so we had a few groups of customers. Number one, Australians, who their day starts right between kind of that 5 p.m., 7 p.m. In our time. And so they would sit down in the morning and want to see what happened in our day session, but all the change and percentage change would just say unch. And same thing, we had a few, you know, growers who might not sit all day at their computer, and they would come in and they would want to look at, they would sit down at their computer maybe half an hour before the overnight open at 7 and want to see what happened during the day and couldn't. And so it took a little bit of work. It was a little more development work than we thought it would be, but we now change it so we now save change and percentage change all the way through until the overnight open, which we think is a big help to people. All right, let's see what's next. Oh, the new desktop mode. So we have our desktop mode, which I'm currently not using, but I recommend, if you're the kind of user that has multiple windows open, if you maybe have 4 or 5 screens and you want most of them to be commodity view, the best way to do that is to use our desktop mode. That allows you to open up different windows and they will persist after you close it. So if you have 3 or 4 monitors, you have a chart in one monitor, a quote board in one monitor, and when you close out a commodity view, when you open that back up, you'll be able to use it. And so we updated that. That uses a program called Electron, and we updated our desktop viewer to the newest version of Electron. Makes it a little quicker, a little snappier, and then just, you know, you always want to be on the latest version of everything. But the biggest change that we made there, which we also made in the browser mode, which was a big feature that a lot of people requested, was to be able to link outside windows. So I'll do my best to be able to show this. You know, as I said, obviously, you know, linking is one of the great features of commodity view, But if you you can always pop out windows, but if you had them popped out, they wouldn't link. They would have to be locked in. But now that's not the case. I can actually kind of pop this out to its own window. Let me make sure I can see this. And so as you can see, I can now click around and this will change as well. And so you can have this on a separate monitor and still have your quote board on your main monitor. And if you just want to click around, you can click around and change it. And again, that was one of those. It seems very small. It took a lot of development work, but I'm pretty proud of the work our developers did to get that done, because it's a cool feature. You know, most people nowadays have multiple monitors, so it's a cool way to utilize that. All right, let's see what's next. Our CQG Trade Library. So sadly I don't have much to show with this one, but I have some things that I definitely want to talk about. This is, I'm not sure who's aware, but we use CQG's web API to route orders through CommodityView. And, you know, this is something we'd like to upgrade a lot. And we just wanted to make sure that things were as solid as they could be when it comes to order routing. It's very important to us. You know, myself and my other product manager, Brendan, both have a trading background. And so we understand how important it is to have everything right when it comes to trading on the first pass. I mean, you know, every detail when it comes to a platform like this is important, but, you know, trading really stands out to me as something we want to get right. So we had basically one of our top developers completely rebuild our CQG, the code that talks to CQG's API. We had to rebuild it from scratch. There's a few reasons we did this. The main reason was the API that we were using was a little bit old, and we wanted to upgrade to the best version. And then the other reason is we wanted to have kind of like a really good development point of contact if anything goes wrong. We didn't have that really at first, and so now myself and the people on the development team have someone directly to go to if there's an issue with trading or if something looks a little weird. We have a quick point of contact. We can reach out to him directly and say, hey, this is coming, and he's super familiar with the code now. So what would take a developer who wasn't as familiar with the code, maybe 45 minutes or an hour, he knows right away where everything is. And that's just important to us when it comes to people trading on our platform, that, we're able to look into things quickly. And then another big reason that we did that is we needed to update the CQG web API to add some things that we're looking to add down the future. The biggest thing that we're doing sooner rather than later is going to be creating, what we're kind of internally calling a hedge desk, or like a hedge management system, a way for merchandisers to use. It'll be its own panel. It won't be through this Dom Trader panel, but they'll use our system to manage their bids and their working offers at the CBOT. And it'll kind of create, it'll all be managed on its own. So if they raise their bid a penny, all the corresponding CBOT orders will change, and they'll be able to get notifications quicker. And we are just starting that development process now, and we weren't able to start development on that until we updated to the latest CQG API. And then going further, there's other things. There's a lot of things that we'd like to add to the to our trading our trading offerings with CommodityView, and none of that could be done without updating the newest version. Some of the things that are after hedge desk, so I don't really have a time frame, but just things we're thinking about adding are things like docked orders, which are available on CQG and we don't have, where or it's available through the CQG API, and we haven't built it out yet, is where like if the CBOT market is closed, it allows you to enter an order, and we just hold that for you until the market opens and you're able to enter the order. We'd like to update some of the positions pages, make things just similar to what we did with the charts, make things easier to see and easier to have it jump out at you right away, what your positions are and what orders you're working and things like that. And there's other things too, and we just, you know, we wanted to have that very solid foundation for as we add more and more things to the trading in CommodityView. And then similar to that, and kind of the, let me make sure I'm on the right track. Yeah. And then similar to that, something we've kind of started to build, and we have a lot more to do with it, but we kind of want to show you what we have now, is we've made some updates to our chat function. As you can see here, the window looks a lot better than we had before, and it allows you to kind of, you know, like you would expect with a lot of chat platforms, you can kind of test these and pop them out and, you know, use like you would expect a normal chat platform to use. Again, we have a lot that we'd like to do with this here. We'd like to be able to create kind of like user-defined groups, so that right away when, you know, let's say there's like 20 CommodityView users at a company, right away it would kind of automatically create a group for just that company, but then they can create smaller groups within themselves, so that maybe like, you know, a elevator that had, or an elevator that maybe has like 5-10 locations, they can create a group for each of the locations, or they could just create a group, you know, for whatever they'd want. And we think that, you know, we get a lot of use out of that. People would get a lot of use out of that. So a lot more exciting stuff to come with that. And with that, I believe that's everything I pretty much wanted to cover. I will kick it back to Tyler and see if maybe he has some additional questions for me, maybe if I skipped over anything, or maybe if he has some audience questions.
Yeah, we have one question here come through a little while ago. So sort of goes back to some of the functionalities within CommodityView itself, is going back to sort of that symbol search, the best way to find like a quick symbol search, whether it's a futures price or to just, again, sort of point out where that symbol search is located in a quote board or a chart.
Oh yeah, okay. So it's always going to be the quickest way to find that symbol search is if you're using a quote board, it'll always be right next to symbol. And you can also use this as well. We have this, you can actually just, it's the same symbol browser that I was showing. Just kind of by habit, I always use the magnifying glass. There's a little more functionality in the magnifying glass. There isn't in the little drop down, but you can type in here as well. So I could just type, you know, ZCZ21. You know, this also works for whole words as well, although obviously it's not going to be perfect. If you type CORN, you're going to get that first, but you could see there's Dec and March and all that kind of stuff. And then you can also use this in the drop down as well, so you could see exactly what I was talking about here. And then you can find that in the magnifying glass as well. And like I said, the reason I kind of like to use the magnifying glass, if you use one of our pre-built quote boards, you can actually use this and you can see all the symbols that are already added here, and you can actually make adjustments here and kind of drag things around as I'm doing. And then you can also like add section headers there as well. And then you can also, this will stay open. So you can grab a couple symbols. Oh, I picked the deepest link, there we go. And you could just kind of double click here rather than adding them one at a time. You can add a whole bunch of symbols and they'll show up down there.
All right, perfect. Another question is on the, showed the exchange traded spreads and the new displays. maybe like a quick detail or quick summary on some of the, so we can add them as well to our quote boards, how to get some of that information in there too.
Yeah, I could definitely do that. So we have, if you have an exchange traded spreads panel, you'll see the symbols that we use. So these are kind of the shorthand version. And so these are the easy, if it's an active exchange traded spread, you'll be able to use just the two symbols separated by a colon. Now this won't work for past spreads, so you can't use like 19. We don't store past exchange traded spread data. So if you're looking for an active spread, you could just type ZCZ21 colon ZC March 22, enter. And then you'll see right there, you have everything. And so like I said, we don't have past exchange traded spread data, but like I showed with the seasonal chart, you can look at like essentially the spread of any past symbol that we had. So if you want, you know, a past symbol, you could do ZCZ18, oops, ZC18. And then again, as long as the symbols are in the braces, it'll kind of do whatever you want to them. ZC March 19. Oh, that's not an active quote. Yeah. If you're looking for that in a chart, you can see that there. I don't know what I thought that would pull in a quote board. Okay. What am I doing now? Yeah, this is just user error under pressure. Sorry about that. But yeah, as you can see, you could just use that to look at past spreads as well. We worked on that seasonal chart. There. Finally got it to work. So yeah, and so this is the difference between DC March 19 and DC March 20. So it gives you a good indication of you know, what happened in the spread in the past. And like I said, you can enter those into a seasonal chart as well. And then also, I wanted to point this out. This is another thing that I kind of glossed over in our quote board, but we also added, if you were looking at a non-exchange traded spread, like let's say you want to do, I don't know, something weird like beans wheat or something. 21. So we now offer the ability to look at the open, high, low, close of a non-exchange traded spread. So you can have, you know, your DC Nov, you know, DC wheat, no beans spread here, and you can see the open and the high and the low of the close for that day as well. That was another thing that we added in this most recent push.
All right. And it looks like we have one more question here pop through. Can you show where the contract high and low is on the quote board?
Yep, so that's in the column section right here. It's all the way down in the bottom. Oops. Contract high and contract low. Can you see that on my screen? It's in the column section. We have a lot of options, so it's all the way down at the bottom, but they're both down there. And now you can see them right here. You can get rid of a couple other of these too. Like I said, people like this one, just, you know, it gives you kind of a sense of, you know, the entire gives you a kind of sense of, you know, the entire life of the contract. There's a little better example for you.
Perfect. That's all the questions that we have in here right now for today's presentation so far. If there's any others, feel free to type them in here.
Yeah, we ended a little bit early, so if anybody has any other questions, I'm happy to answer. Anything else we're kind of maybe looking to add in the future, or anything, just any sort of commodity view functionality you're curious about? I'm happy to answer any questions.
Looks like that's all that we have coming in here today.
That's it. All right. Well, I'll put that up. So if afterward, if any questions come up, you just want to type it out here. You can reach out to myself or Tyler at any time. I'm happy to answer any commodity view questions. Like I said, about what we're working on in the future, or if you have any suggestions. Pretty much everything that we add in commodity view is based on customer suggestions, customer demands, customer needs. It's the platform is completely customer driven. Like I said, basically everything that I showed today was a direct request from a customer. So if anything comes up that you think of that you think would make it a better product, feel free to email me. Let me know what you're looking for.
All right, looks like we may have a couple more coming in here. So for those that want to, go ahead and type those in, and we'll stick on here for just a few minutes. Had one come through here, probably also a request on stuff. Contract high and low for livestock quote boards.
Let's take a look. I'm sure we have that. Just give it a whirl. Yeah, same. So we have a bunch of pre-made quote boards that are always really helpful. Again, I kind of like the gallery. They're just a great place to start. Maybe you don't look at milk, but you could always just kind of delete it. But this will show, this is a good way to show you kind of what's available, because we have these like section headers in between that kind of help divide things up. And those can all be found in the quote here. So if you go to quote, custom will just give you a blank one, and then all the rest, and this is where exchange traded spreads can be found as well. And then all the rest, these are all pre-made quote boards. They're, if you want to make a livestock quote board, it's a great place to start. Softs, energy metals, a couple different Forex stuff. And then you can change everything here. A lot of, I don't use size bid, size ask a lot. That's one thing I kind of get rid of a lot. But then I like to put in like first notice. I think that's a good one. If you're looking at a futures board, first notice is a good one to throw in there. Of open interest and volume, I always like to have in there. But yeah, that's where those are available in livestock. Oh, and then I should throw out there, I meant to mention that you can throw, like I showed how you can do spreads in these seasonal charts. We have customers that use like cattle crush in here and look at past years of cattle crush, past years of ethanol crush, past years of soybean crush. You can do whatever you want in these seasonal charts, just as long as you have the symbols and the braces. I mean, we have our, I believe we have kind of a pre-built one, the cattle crush. But then, everybody kind of likes to do their own differently. I know, especially from talking to people, it seems like when it comes to cattle crush, everybody kind of has their own way to do it. So you can use this as a starting place, and you see the formula that we're using here. But any changes that you want to make, if you kind of want to change a contract month or something like that, that's one way to do it for our livestock customers. What do you got for me, Tyler? Anything else?
Looking through here, so it looks like we had one just pop in here. Do all of the updates all apply to the desktop version as well?
Yeah, yeah. The desktop version is basically the exact same thing. The desktop, it's this program called Electron. It's a pretty interesting program. Like Slack uses Electron. There's a few other pretty big like software names that use Electron. But really, what's interesting is with Electron, you're really just using Chrome. So it's indistinguishable in desktop mode from browser mode. The only difference is it allows you to pop up windows and then keep those static windows open. So if I have one here, one here, one here, as long as I click the X on the main commodity window, as you go in and log in the next morning, all those windows will pop up, but everything else is exactly the same. And like I said, if you're interested in that, I would definitely say take a look, especially if you're someone who has like 4 or 5 monitors. The desktop mode is the way to go. I usually use the browser mode just because I'm kind of in and out of it all day. I'm not staring at charts all day unless we're like QAing some chart stuff. But I'm kind of back and forth. But for the people that are more power users, I always recommend take a look at desktop mode.
Skimming through here a few, see if there's any additional items here. Let's see here. Question came in here. How do I move a window down or move up if I want a 4x4 panel layout?
Oh, good. I like this question because this is one that we get sometimes. It's one of those great like starting out questions. So if you start with a new workspace and it's blank and you open up a chart, it'll pop it open completely, in its own page. And so as you kind of open up new things, they'll just pop them next to each other. And so what you do, I want to make sure you see it, is these little tabs that say chart. You can, with the blue line is the one that's active, and you can actually grab that, and then you see the blue is the outline of where that will go. So I've left clicked on chart, and then as you grab it, you can kind of move it around and see what where it will go. And so you add, a couple more charts. And then once you've got a few charts up, you can kind of move those around, grab this one, and like you can see, it'll show you where it's going to be as you're holding down left click. And then when you let go of left click, that's when the chart pops into place. And so that's how you create a 4x4 chart.
And then with that as well, just remember for anybody that needs to link pieces together. What was that?
You blinked out for a second. It's that Iowa internet you're always talking about. Yeah, you're blinking out.
So, and again, with that, if you have 2x2 or 3x3 or anything like that, just remember if you have quote boards and charts, you can utilize that linking tool in the top right to link corresponding pieces across from each other.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a great way to use the product. Let's see. So now you've got here, let's do orange. Oops, why won't that stick? Nah, gave up on that. Orange. And orange. And then you can see as you jump around. And again, the best way to do this, which I see a lot of people use, is you'll have multiple charts and then you have different time frames. That's the way I see most customers kind of use it. So you'll have one of these is a 1-minute chart. One of these is maybe like, just depending on how you look at it, maybe one a monthly and one a daily. And that way, you have all your studies pre-set up in each of these. So you have your Bollinger Band in each of them, and then you can kind of flick through and quickly see, okay, here's my minute chart, here's my monthly chart, here's my daily chart. that I think is the best way to use it.
Looking through to see if there's any additional questions. For a few of you out there, just note that we will take a couple of the questions offline here that have come in just to follow up with specifics on the app and so forth, just because we are, for purposes demoing that, would have to have another connection put in place here. But
Marketplace questions?
Couple app questions on commodity view.
Oh, okay. Yeah, gotcha.
So, yeah, any additional questions, feel free to type them in here. We just got a few more minutes. We're happy to stay on and get those answered for you.
Yeah, thanks everybody for so much coming out. I appreciate everybody, coming out to learn more about commodity view. It's cool to see, it's cool to see so many people come out. We put a lot of work into this, so when people come to learn more about what we're doing, it's pretty cool.
All right, that looks to be all the questions here for today's session. So appreciate everyone jumping on as well. As Patrick said, if there's any questions, feel free to direct them to either of us. Our emails are up on the screen. We'll keep that up for a minute here longer. And look forward to seeing you utilizing commodity view now and into the future.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tyler. Appreciate your help today.
All right, have a great afternoon, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.